Corey, how's the body feeling after that catch last night?
Yeah.
Very athletic?
Yeah, I've just woken up and come to this. So, no, look, it was good last night. You know, back-to-back games, obviously it's never ideal in those scenarios, but gave us another chance to put our talent on display, and then we get another chance tomorrow night to, hopefully take title home.
Some might say that was the turning point in last night's match. What do you think about that?
I didn't say that.
I did.
Look, it would have probably been handy if we'd taken one of the two that were before it. It would have made it a little bit easier. But I think any time you get a big player out like Fuff, it's going to ultimately make a game-changing moment, and hopefully you can capitalise on. I think our boys did a great job.
Yeah.
Straight away after that, they kind of clicked in the gear, and we held them back a little bit as well.
Shane, last night was like a tough fought win. Really good match. So what's the mindset going into tomorrow's match against the Freedom?
The mindset is probably as simply as just learning from the previous game that we played against them in the 1v2, just learning from the things that we didn't do as well as we possibly could have, and then continue on our what we've been doing so well during the tournament. Individually, our skill-wise, tactically, we've been very good. Obviously, led incredibly well by Corey. So I think it's more so just learning from the previous time we played them, where they just got away a little bit from a bowling point of view, from a batting point of view, just being a little bit strategically and tactically, just being a little bit better. That's where we let ourselves down from a batting perspective in that innings against Washington. So if we put those few things together and make those little adjustments and continue fighting like we do, then we're going to be very hard to beat.
Are there any key matchups that you're looking to change, or like, for example, with Matt Short heading off to the 100? Like, is there any adjustments that you're making after last night, or?
There won't be any adjustments. I'd be very surprised unless someone's pulled up not great after last night. Continuity is such an important part in cricket, to be able to continue to give the players the confidence that they're going out there and being able to play fields cricket. So there won't be any. I'd be surprised if there's any changes at all. But matchups in general, look, the great thing with the Unicorns, we've got so many highly skilled players across the board. Anytime they get a chance to be able to put their skills on display, it's and a couple of players who feel like they haven't been able to really contribute consistently to the Unicorns. You can really feel and sense that they are ready to sort of try and capitalise on the big game on Sunday.
And can you guys talk a little bit about the domestic talent on your roster? Obviously, there's some great stories that have come out of your team this season. So, love to hear a little bit about what your thoughts are on them and their future ahead.
Well, the domestic talent starts with Corey, the captain, who's done an incredible job as leader. The way, considering it's really one of his first official jobs of being the captain of the team, he's been just about flawless. The way he's guided the bowlers and guided the players has been exceptional. But when it comes to local talent, look, it was not unearthed, but to be able to see the skill of the domestic players, Sanjay Krishnamurti, to be able to see his skill that he's had on display, he's an incredibly skilled young man, whether that's in the US or any other part around the world. The skill that he's got from his batsmanship is just something very special. Also, Hassan Khan, we've seen the immense skill that he's got. USA are very lucky to be able to have him because he's a world-class cricketer now.
Yeah.
And he's only going to get better and better. But then we see, with Janoy Drysdale coming in, he's got some serious skill as well. Speed, he's a great competitor as well. So that's just to really name a few. So it's very exciting for the US to see the depth that's coming through, and then they just need to make sure these skilled players do get picked for the USA team, to make sure that then they are the players and the best players on display on the international stage.
Corey, you've seen, obviously, this is your second season, and you've obviously seen a lot of these guys through World Cup and then obviously now in MLC. What do you think it's going to take to continue to grow the grassroots community from a cricketing perspective?
Look, it's it's got a lot of pathways in place at the moment. I think there's still going to be a lot of work to be done as well. That what's been created over the last few years has been fantastic. I think we've seen that with Major League's inaugural season last year, and then this one. The quality of cricket and the standard of cricket that we're getting on this platform is arguably some of the best in the world. We've got some of the best cricketers in the world playing it. So, look, I think that's going to help massively. I think it's a lot of the little things that probably become big things in terms of infrastructure and things like that. I think those things play a key element in the future of the game here in the States. But it's fair to say it's in a pretty good spot at the moment. We just need to make sure we can kind of capitalise on all the good stuff that's been going on and make sure it kind of gets steered in the right direction as well.
And what do you think about from a local Texas sports fans perspective? Like, how do we get these guys excited about the game, and what do you think we need to do to get them down here and, experience T20 cricket?
Look, it's always going to be a little bit of a struggle. We're trying to, it's the second biggest sport in the world, but in America it's a little bit down that list. So there's just got to be some unique ways of trying to get them involved, and I think getting them to the ground is the biggest part. I think when they're at the ground and watching the game, I think the game speaks for itself and it shows the entertainment that it can produce, and I think people fall in love with the game once they've actually got eyes on it. So yeah, it's just that big part of getting people to the game, and I think with the World Cup being here, obviously, prior to this, there's probably been a little bit of a fatigue set in a little bit, but again, I think there's been some unbelievable cricket being played here, and you can only go from that aspect to say the product's fantastic, and getting people down here is just the other part. We've got to click into that puzzle.
Z from Cricket Exec. Corey, the last time I sat in a press conference with you, like this close, probably was a month ago in the Kensington Oval after the England match, and I asked about the team, right, and their performance. I wasn't even asking about you. And your answer was all about accepting responsibility, right? You said to me, I needed to play better than what I did. There were opportunities I missed on. I'm the senior player on the team who's played the most international cricket. It was my role, right? I fell short. And you just, you were very, even though not asked about it, you were like, you took it on you. And you weren't the captain, right? Monak was, and Aaron Jones was when Monak was out. Following up on that, back in the U.S., how special is it to you to come back and actually captain this team of stars, Americans and international players, into the finals?
I'm extremely proud. I mean, when Shane asked me to be captain, I was pretty excited about it, to be honest. It's one of those things that I've always loved being given that responsibility, and I think it takes time to kind of, evolve those relationships over a period of time, and I think you're also only as good as your players in terms of what you do. I mean, technically you could be really good and be switched on, but if your players can't quite execute it, everyone starts looking like they're not doing their job. So I only have a little piece to play in that, and that's directing guys in a way that they can try and film their best. And Shane and the staff have done an unbelievable job at setting up, doing our homework, making sure it works and seeing if it all kind of plays out the way it should do. So going out in that field is one thing, but there's a lot of work that goes behind it. And look, I've got some pretty experienced players out there as well. So I'm not doing it on my own when I'm out there. I'm calling upon those guys pretty frequently to see if I'm on the right track, if I'm miles off. But they're great sounding boards, and yeah, I think that's been the beauty of our team as well. Is there's guys who, have found their voice in this season as well, and speaking up and and showing their experience. And I think the team's really coming together pretty well.
I know we're here to talk about tomorrow. Britt asked about last night. I got asked about last night as well, that catch. When you took that catch, I was actually standing next to David White, your GM, and Sid Prasanna, your friend, and everyone's face lit up, their eyes popped, everyone was stunned and super excited, right? And when you see that kind of reaction from people after that kind of catch, are you flattered, or are you thinking, yo, why are you so surprised that I took that catch?
Probably a combination. It feels like people think I'm 50 years old and I can't move properly. Look, it's exciting when you take something like that. It's exciting when you're in a team and someone pulls off a little bit of a catch like that, because it gets momentum back in your camp, and I think that's kind of what it did. And again, like I said, there was a couple of easier chances that we probably could have taken, but it's always nice to be involved in those kind of things, and hopefully someone else or myself can do something similar in a similar fashion. Why not?
Shane, a couple questions for you. You published a book in the U.S. earlier this year, The Winner's Mindset. I think it had been published internationally sort of before that, but in the U.S. it came out this year. And that's a big focus of your coaching as well, right? When you started at Cricket News NSW, that was as a mental skills coach. Great book, by the way. Everyone should read it. But when you've been coaching the unicorns sort of last year and this year, can you talk about how you've brought that approach into your coaching of the team, how you've helped some of the younger players, especially the American inexperienced players, with that aspect of their game, and how that's helped the unicorns get to where they are this year?
Yeah, there's no question the mental side of cricket is, and the mental side of us as human beings performing is the most critical thing. Yes, we need to work incredibly hard to be able to develop our skills in whichever domain we are in, but to be able to access them, especially under pressure, that's where the mindset comes in. So I was very fortunate to be able to get educated on that towards the back end of my career. So that certainly is the focal point of everything, so that the foundations that I set into a team environment, because I know how critically important that understanding is. But then also the conversations that come out of it day to day after every game with different individuals at different times. It just means that there's a simpler platform to be able to sort of go in and have conversations with these individuals, whether it's a young player starting out, or whether it's a senior player trying to just bring the best they possibly can. It's quite similar. It's quite similar conversations that you have, and that's the beauty of the information of being taught, because you can have quick wins, simple wins quite quickly with these conversations that I do have. So it makes it very enjoyable for sure.
And a quick second question, something I talked to Ricky about as well, or asked Ricky about. Ricky, in an interview a couple of days ago with CricBuzz, basically talked about how he's so competitive before matches. He doesn't like talking to anyone. He said, Justin Langer, I played with him for 15 years. In the IPL, I never even looked him in the eye before a match or shook his hand. And I told him, look, Shane is a big fan of yours. He's 6 years junior, right? He talks about how much he's learned from you, So tomorrow, are you going to try to say hi to Ricky before the match, or are you going to avoid that landmine?
How I've developed as a person is because of Ricky. So I won't be saying anything to him before the game. We're both the same. That's how I sort of learnt my cricket, was under Ricky's leadership, and that's from a 20-year-old going into the Aussie team. That's sort of how I learnt how you are with the opposition. How you are with the opposition. If you had behaved any other way, it wasn't just Ricky. The other guys are around you to pull you into line. So that's just how I am now. So it's going to work out really nicely tomorrow night, because there won't be any conversation still after the game.
It's dodgy pass.
We've got one question from online from Andrew. You guys played Freedom a couple of days ago. Does that have any effect on your strategy for tomorrow?
It plays a little part, and I guess we've played them twice now. It's almost like a 3-match series against them in a way. Got one early, they came back, and hopefully the next one can go away. But look, I think the team's slightly changed throughout those couple of games. But again, we'll go back and do our homework and make sure we're prepared. And I think we still need to look internally and know that what we do well and what we've done throughout this comp has been extremely successful. So I think we don't need to go too far from that blueprint. I think we know what it looks like. And I just think we sort of have to get in a situation where we fight hard, but then get on a little bit of autopilot and do our job.